Hi gentlemen, Mike here again. This is video number 6 in the Consultants in Carhartts Drinking Coffee series. In our last video, we talked about the hidden work stoppages, sort of that vortex where things go to be hidden for a while until they finally come back up when they really are affecting the job in a negative way. And we talked about how the issues log was going to help us manage that. So as you know, first we have to be able to identify them. So we're going to have to work hard at figuring out how to do that. And that's something that I know you guys can do, but you're going to have to be out on the job site to do it. And as that begins to happen and you begin to capture what those issues are, just like we talked about, you'll begin to get your own sense of, okay, I see where all this stuff goes and I see how we play this game, but how would you manage your way out of it? And that's what the issues log is going to help us do today. So let's just dive right into it. The issues log, it really is helping us manage all of those things that are stopping us from doing work almost regardless of what they are. Now you have the tick list in the big room managing tasks that have to be done. So that's something separate, right? This is more around information. What are the things that we need to know, answers we need to get, decisions we need to make to keep the process moving forward at optimal flow. Okay, so let's dive in. Remember, this is just a spreadsheet. It's just a tool. And as with all lean tools, it only works as well as we apply the methodologies and philosophies that support that tool, right? Tools are worthless if we don't know precisely how to use them and what the basic function is behind them. What are the things behind each tool that drive it, that make it work well, right? So let's just dive into what the categories are currently on our latest version of our issues log. And it's just a spreadsheet. We capture the item number so that we can keep track of where we are in the long list of issues that we're going to have over the duration of a job. So we might want to know that 200 of them are already complete. And of course, those will all be hidden when we open up our sheet. We can open it up and go back and look at them. But the only thing that we see on our current issues log are going to be the things that are actively live right at the moment, work in process. The next item is going to be the issue, and we'll talk about what issues are in a moment. Priority, low, medium, high. Make sure that we're working on the right things first. And not only just critical path, it'll be what the group, what the team decides is the highest priority based on optimal flow of the project. Then there's the description. The description is where we're going to keep track of exactly what's happening. This is how we manage ball and court. It's the first step to it, and we'll go over that in a minute. The original owner, in this case, the sample or example that we're going to use is going to be owned by the architect. Who it is currently with. So you may have a series of many events that have to happen. Maybe the architect has to look at it and hand it to the engineer, and the engineer has to do some figuring and drawing and then come back to the architect, and the architect needs to check with the owner and the trade. And so there may be a whole series of things that have to happen. This is how we manage who has it now and where are we in the process. So the description and who it's currently with really work together. And then I'm going to jump over here to the current date. So the current date tells us when the task that the project, that particular issue is currently with, will be completed. If that makes sense. Hopefully I got that right. Then flag for escalation and date originated. All right, so these are all columns. There are 2 more columns, and those are a meeting that may be mandatory and who would need to be in that meeting. And I just didn't put them up, ran out of space. So, and you guys can have a copy of the issues log. I'm happy to give it to you, and you can begin from that point. And this is going to be a real cursory overview. If you guys want some, real formal training on this process, let me know. I'll be happy to do it. But today it's just us girls, so I'm just going to blast through it real quick. Let's go back to the beginning. So when we get to the issue, you can see in this case how we described this particular issue in the sample. Mall area lighting and baffles conflict. That's it. That's all we need to know. We don't need long descriptions. We don't need any more information than that. We know it's RFI number 525. That's all we need to know at the moment, okay? Priority is wherever it is. Description, as we come out here, it has a long list of descriptions. And I've got a copy of it here, and I'm just gonna zoom in real quick for you guys. I'm just gonna walk it in because it doesn't matter what it says. It just matters that you have a sense for what the description is. And it looks like a long paragraph, but it's not. What it is a series of sentences. Again, everything in one sentence. Let me give you an example. I'm just going to read real quick the first part of it to you so you get a sense of how that description area works. So, per coordination meeting yesterday and follow-up email from the trade, the mall area lighting and layout baffle conflict is handed to the engineer and to the architect to issue direction. Okay? Sentence number one. And we know that that's complete. Possible lighting layout change to avoid the baffles. That's one simple sentence. So the next item here is the PE will resend ceiling cloud shop drawings to the architect and the engineer so that they can look at them. And then it goes on to say we will all get together as a group, all the stakeholders will walk out, we'll stand there, we'll look, we'll make sure we understand exactly what the issue is, we'll have our drawings, we'll have our specs, we'll have everything with us and everybody with us so that we can actually go solve that problem. Each one of those items are captured by the owner of the issues log, and that person puts them in the description, and they actually manage who currently has it, what the date is that person has agreed or committed to get that done, and then monitors to make sure that they are getting it done. That's their job. So the key to the issues log working well is to keep it simple. One sentence. Follow the path, but only in sentences. No long descriptions here. We just need to know who's got it, when they're going to get it done, who they're going to give it to next, and that they're progressing the way that we're hoping that they're going to progress, or the way that we're counting on them to progress. Okay? Now, that all being said, again, there's no lean tools that work on their own, right? They all work based on how well we apply the methodologies and the philosophies. So I caught some of those, I captured some of those here, we'll go over them now. And just be sure that we understand none of this is going to work if we don't do this. There's no reason to have a ball and court management process if we're not going to monitor progress. If we don't know who has the ball at the moment, we don't know what date they've committed to get it done, and we're really, feel like it's disrespectful to check with them to be sure that they're tracking to get it completed, we're not going to make it. The tool is just simply another spreadsheet, right? So those methodologies and philosophies are absolutely key. So let's talk about them real quick. Methodologies, daily issues log management. So whoever owns this, usually it's going to be a project engineer, project manager, but whoever owns that issues log has to open it twice per day. They've got to have an alarm that goes off on their phone or something that comes up on their computer and says, open it now, review it. And they're doing something very specifically when they do that. They're coming over to any open issues. They look in the description field to see precisely who has it and when they're going to have it done. And they check with that person to make sure that they're tracking to get it done. That's their job. Now, you guys can already imagine that one of the things that we run into on almost every job site is that a lot of people are senior to this person, and they have ways of putting pressure back on that person to make that person quit coming at them. And the rest of us, we all have to lock arms and stand between that guy and this person. And we have to say, no, it's this person's job to check on you because you're in the description, you own it, currently it's with you, and here's the date you say it's going to be done, and none of us know whether you're tracking to get it done. As a team, we all need to know that you're tracking to get it done, and not to beat you up or to overmanage you, but to make sure that we have enough time to compensate if you're not. If you need more resources, we need to be able to free those resources up, get them to you so that you can get it done. And everybody's treated the same way, all the way from the owners and CEOs of the trades, contractor, architect, engineering firms, and the client. It doesn't matter who you are. Your position doesn't matter. If you are here on this log, then you are going to have someone contact you to make sure that you are tracking to get it complete. Okay? That's the key. Now just think about it for a second. If you don't do that, And if there's anything that comes between those steps in the process, then let me ask you this. How will we know whether or not we are putting the proper effort into each item to get them completed on time? Right? So everybody's got to get over the whole thing, this whole issue of I'm too senior to be held accountable. No, you're not. Nobody is. Okay? So the next one is ball in court, right? So the methodology is, look, as soon as you're done with this step, I already know as the issues log owner what the next step is, and I'm going to make sure that person knows that you're done, make sure that information gets to you, and that you understand what you're to do with that information and you commit to it. I'm going to put that down, and then we're going to get a date that you are committing to get it done. Okay, so that's managing ball in court. They keep it moving. All senior management works with them, and we meet as a team at least once a week and more if necessary. We meet as often as is necessary to make sure this functions correctly. Now, it usually ends up over a period of time coming down to once a week, right? Because you only have 4, 5, 6 open items at any given time. And that's on big jobs. Very few items are open if you're always getting each one of them done. Okay? And then reminders are key. So one of the methodologies that we found works really well is to let everybody know, look, in a couple of days, in 2 days, you're supposed to have these shop drawings complete and to the trade. Do you remember that? And oftentimes they'll say, oh, no, you know what, great, thank you. I didn't realize it was down to 2 days or tomorrow or something to that effect. The effectiveness of that is incredible. People knowing even just a day ahead of time often is key. They will get it done. Often we've seen them stay late at night to get it done because they don't want to be that one person in the process who didn't get it done, right? And then also that issues log owner is watching to really get a sense for and be sure, and the rest of the team is also, like we just previously mentioned, that they have the right resources and they're going to get it done correctly, right? We need to get it done in earnest, not just get it done, right? And then philosophies. So philosophies are one of the key parts of lean. We don't talk about it as much as we should, and I know I've been talking about it quite a bit in these last few videos as we go back to the basics, but the philosophies are key. I want you guys to understand something, just between all of us, right? The Japanese never taught me a tool, ever. They never said the word value stream map, time observation form, spaghetti diagram, all of the lean tools that we use. Not once did they ever teach me one of them or even talk about them, all right? The only thing they taught us was the philosophies and the methodologies. With the philosophies and methodologies, we took Genie Industries from a nearly closed, failing company to the largest boom manufacturer in the world. And it literally was done without these tools that everybody today wants to know about. Everybody wants to believe it's the tools that make lean work. And I just can't express enough for you guys. It's just not my experience. Maybe it's yours, but it just wasn't my experience. We didn't need them. Now, they have been a major benefit later as time went on, because now we can start teaching people how to apply the methodologies and philosophies. The danger is this. People want to know the tools, and they're not really focused on this. And this is where lean lives. Okay. So the philosophies are monitor progress rather than report on results. And that's what we were just talking about. That person has to monitor the progress. And if things aren't happening, they have to have a stop the line, right? Where's your judoka if you don't have a stop the line? And if you're not monitoring progress, how do you stop the line? How do you apply judoka? And if you're not applying just in time in judoka, you're simply not doing lean. You don't have that tension between those two going. Then you have to have a process to escalate. And if you're going to have a process to escalate, you've got to get that group together ahead of time and really explain it to them. And there has to be a solid process to escalate, and it has to happen in minutes, most hours, but never days, weeks, or months, right? Escalation is absolutely key, but the top brass, so the CEOs of the architecture firm and the contracting firm and the ownership group and the CEOs of the trades, the big guys, they're all going to say, well, now you guys are just going to push everything up to us to solve it, and we're ahead of time, we're already mad because we think you're going to just push it all up to us. And we have to understand, if you abuse the process like that, they will not support us, right? I've watched that happen. It doesn't work. You have to understand that most processes can be handled in escalation at the lowest levels with the PM, the superintendent. Sometimes we have to get the directors and some of the senior management from the trades and the architects together, and then every once in a while something's big. It's a $500,000 issue, and it's going to get escalated up to the big guys, or somebody went bankrupt. You know, something big happens, and it will require escalation. But I'm here to tell you, it almost never happens, escalating all the way to the top, right? And so that's one of the things that we have to talk with them about ahead of time and make sure that they understand. They're not signing on to take on the project. They're just signing on to help us when it absolutely has to be solved at their level. But they understand they're just like the rest of us. They have minutes and hours. They don't get days, weeks, and months. Nobody does. Okay. Then drive to completion, and I underlined the word drive. Now, at Lean Integrated, when we give out a certification for somebody who's a Lean leader or a Lean fellow, one of the things that they have to demonstrate isn't just that they'll do Lean in a Lean process, that they understand it, know how to apply it, and even that they understand some of the great nuance and philosophy and methodology and all that. All of that they have to do, but beyond that, they have to drive it. In other words, if Lean starts failing on a project, they have to be the people who step up and say, okay, I see what's going on here. We're starting to fail. We're losing traction on an issues log. The escalation process isn't working, or whatever it is that they find. Everybody stop, because we're going to step back for a moment. We're going to get back on top of it. We're going to get our processes back in gear, our dedication, re-emphasized, and off we'll go, right? Driving it is different than being enthusiastically involved. Genchi Genbutsu and all stakeholders involved and collaboration. The reason I use stars is because those are methodologies as well as philosophies. And I just want to make the point. You know what Genchi Genbutsu is? It's go out, look, never try to solve something in the trailer. You always stand there with the team when you go out to solve a problem, right? Because if you've got lights that are conflicting with baffles, guess what? As you start to move them around in that hallway and try to get your alignment solved, you're going to run into problems with the HVAC people, the plumbers, the electricians. There's all kinds of stuff up there. All those stakeholders have to be out there, right? And so you have to make sure that you practice Genchi Genbutsu, you go out to the Gemba, the most core basics of Lean, right? With all the right stakeholders, and you never, ever define a problem before you get all the stakeholders together, or you will lose them. This is a lesson that none of us should have to learn the hard way. We should all get to really absorb this one up front, and that is, I can tell you what the problem is, right? I can say, hey, mall area lighting baffles conflict. I can say that. But then we all get all of our information, we get all the stakeholders together, we go out there, we stand and we look and we start talking. And the HVAC guys can say, well, I hear your solution there, but I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to adjust my intake over here to compensate for where you guys want to run your hangars. I don't see a solution there. And then everybody can start talking until they all get together and figure it out. But they all have to be part of defining the problem. So stating an issue is one thing. Defining the problem, you've got to have all your stakeholders there with you practicing Genchi Genbutsu, and then you'll get collaboration, right? That's where you get the collaboration from. All those people get to stand there, and guess what? In every case I've ever watched this, they've always been able to solve it when you have all the right people together. Okay, so that's the basics of the issues log. Again, if you guys have questions or you have thoughts, please get back to me, and I'll send you what we're going to work on next is one of the issues that Chris Heeger was talking about. Chris, I promised that I would get to this, and I will, and that is getting out front of this stuff. So one of the things that Bailey in Seattle has done a phenomenal job with is being able to get out front, putting processes in place to get out front of issues so they don't get us on the job site. And we talked about it up in the buyout process, submittals process, right? Pre-award process, all those can capture 99.9% of that stuff with a little bit of effort. And then as we get good at it, we just get better and better at making sure that those things never migrate from the estimating department out to the job site. So we'll talk about that one next. You guys have a great day. I think I'm out of the country for the next couple of days, so it'll probably be next week before I get that next video out. And if I don't see you, happy holidays.